that nothing could hit her. But guess what? The greatest enemy of America, the greatest enemy of America, believe it or not, and for what's about to happen to America, the greatest enemy is the powers that rule from Israel, because they're jacking America up. And that's on the physical and political side. And on the spiritual side, it's the Most High. But you have to realize what the Jewish people did. The powers that be. They set up Hollywood, demoralization. They set up GMOs. They set up the eugenics program, the vaccinations. They set up the KKK. They finance other black movements. They set up the industrial prison complex. They set up the drugs going into the neighborhoods to demoralize the people. And they're sitting back saying, listen, Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah. They're sitting back looking at the total destruction. Because why? If our people start demoralizing themselves by default, they can claim they're God's people. So they started tainting America with all types of immoral ways. They started making movies about killing and death and horror and destruction and evil and hell. They started financing the music business and making, let me tell you, they have financially demoralized the whole country. And then, once the country got to its height, they came with America and agreed with, under Bill Clinton, with the NAFTA agreement, to take all the jobs out of America and give them to the other countries so that they can actually do offshore corporations and pay no taxes, while the American people pay the taxes to build these particular buildings outside the country. Knowing that eventually, once there's a famine and there's total destruction and there's no more money, the Americans are going to start fighting each other. It's going to be total chaos and war, and they're going to come in and say, we need to bring some order. That's what's coming. And guess what? You can say what you want about them, but they will do this until Christ returns. They were set up to do this. And we were set up to reveal them, the man of sin. And guess what? Even though we can point out what they're doing, we can't stop them either, because it's the will of God. We can't stop these powers that are working from Israel from doing what they're doing. And the same thing they're doing in America, right now they're doing in Israel. They have totally demoralized Israel. Pornography, homosexuality, all these things right now are going down in Israel right now. Right? They're following the Most High's land. But they don't care, because they're going to go back to Europe. And they're going to start this war with Iran, knowing that that whole thing is going to get wiped out in that area before Christ returns. This is Bible prophecy. So yes, they finance the hatred you see in America, and they finance the hatred in the Middle East, and then they're going to leave and allow that whole thing to get blown up. This is what they do. Wake up, brothers and sisters. Let's get back into the topic here. Read.
Verse 7.
Verse 7.
And thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever.
So America thought that she would stand forever. You should have known once George Bush and them blew up the towers that sooner or later America time would be ticking from that day forward. Nothing would be the same after your own government officials blow up some towers and kill 3,000 people as a sacrifice. You should have known that sooner or later, can they do this to the rest of us? Can they just start warring against us? Oh yeah, well, let's just blow a tower and just kill a whole city and destroy a whole city in New Orleans right after that, to show them that we are in war. We are at war here. Let's show them what we're going to do to everybody. Let's blow up a levee and let's flood 180 acres of food within the American borders. Let's blow it up. Who cares about them? Let's raise the debt ceiling to the point where each American owe over $500,000 each based on a debt they didn't incur. Slave labor, slave camps. Let's do this.
Read. So that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart.
They did not lay these things to their heart. What?
Neither didst remember the latter end of it.
They didn't know that the Most High would actually deal with them at the end. They're so caught up into their conspiracies and what they're doing to the earth, they don't even realize that there's a judgment for them that, believe me, they will not be able to stand. They will not be able to stand against what's coming against them. Read.
Verse 8. Therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures.
Hear this, you nations who are given to pleasures. Talking about America. Read.
That dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children.
See, that's what America believes. America believes that, listen, nothing can never happen to us. We'll be here forever. We'll never know the loss of children. America will always be here. Read.
Verse 9. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment in one day.
This shall come to you a moment and one day.
The loss of children.
The loss of children.
And widowhood.
And widowhood.
They shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries.
Because you are sorcerers. You're dealing with witchcraft. Read.
And for the great abundance of thine enchantments.
And for the great abundance of your enchantments. All of them worship Satan. Down at the Bohemian Grove and all these different areas, they do human sacrifices. There's another thing. Up in New York, you had this guy, this Jewish guy, who was caught killing a little kid about 8 years old and cutting him up in pieces. Now they're saying, well, hold up, he had voices in his head. Brothers and sisters, this is the same thing over and over again. These people are illuminous projects under Masonry. These are human sacrifices. They're just passing them off as random killings from a nut job. This is what happens in Moloch worshiping. This is your country. This is what they do. This is what they do, brothers and sisters. The Charles Mansons, the Jeffrey Dahmers, all these, when you do the research, even the guy that just killed the little Jewish kid, all these were projects. They were all raised from kids to do these things. All of them. They are part of an illuminous project that allow institutional sacrifices within a society. But you don't want to know about things like that, because you'd rather believe it's just a nut job. Because by believing that, then it would sway you away from understanding that it's just part of your society, that the leaders of your government needs this to thrive. That in order for them to rule in the earth under Satan, they must give up children for sacrifice. Yes, this is your society. This is America, folks. This is what happens over in the Middle East too. They be chasing little boys down and killing little boys for sacrifice in the Middle East. Read.
Verse 10. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness.
Because you have trusted in your wickedness.
Thou hast said, none seeth me.
And they think no one sees them. Read.
Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee.
Their wisdom and their knowledge have perverted them.
And thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it riseth. And mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Stand now with thy enchantments.
So the Most High says, now stand with your enchantments. Read.
And with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth.
Read.
If so be thou shalt be able to profit. If so be thou mayest prevail. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things.
Let's see if your sorcerers save you from these things. Now, I'm going into this because all the nations of the earth In order for them to have enslaved us and to take us down, these are the practices and the crafts of the Gentiles. They have used sorcery. They have used witchcraft. They have used sacrificing. This is how they've oppressed us. America in its inception was set up by Masons. From its inception was set up by Masons themselves. Was set up by sorcerers. America was built off of witchcraft.